It was a quiet Tuesday night, the kind where the streets felt too wide and the headlights of passing cars painted stories on wet asphalt. I was halfway through my shift at Marzano's Pizza, running deliveries out of the back of my beat-up scooter, when the order came in, a large margarita, extra basil, no garlic. Simple, but the address gave me pause. It was from the Heights, that expensive row of modern houses that looked like glass jewelry. Boxes perched above the rest of the city. Orders from up there were rare, and when they came, the tips were usually good. Still, I always felt like an outsider at those doors. A pair of work boots on marble floors. Asterisk, I zipped up my jacket and headed out. The rain had turned to a mist, clinging to my helmet's visor and softening the world into a watercolor blur. When I arrived at the house, the lights inside were dim, golden, warm, and I felt myself hesitate before ringing the bell. The door opened slowly, quietly, like it was unsure it wanted to. And then I saw him. Tall, broad-shouldered, hair damp as if he'd just stepped out of the shower. His hoodie clung to his collarbones, and his eyes, they weren't just green. They were tired, like they'd seen too much beauty and too many lies. He looked at me as if he already knew me, and I remember thinking that was impossible. Asterisk, hey, he said, voice low and a little hoarse. That was fast. Asterisk, I held out the pizza, nodding, forcing myself not to look too long. Not much traffic tonight. Asterisk, he smiled, slow, tired, real. You always work this late. Asterisk, most nights. I said, you always eat pizza at midnight. Asterisk, he chuckled. The sound was short, almost embarrassed. Only when I'm trying not to think. Asterisk, I wasn't sure what to say to that, so I didn't. He handed me a few bills. Too much for a single pizza, and our fingers brushed. That moment, it was like touching live wire. His hand lingered just a second too long, and I pulled mine back, quickly, pretending not to notice the sudden jolt in my chest. Asterisk, keep the change, he said, eyes on mine, drive safe. Asterisk, thanks, I mumbled, stepping back. I was halfway down the steps when he called after me. Asterisk, what's your name? Asterisk, I turned, surprised. Customers didn't usually ask. Eli, I said. He nodded. I'm Liam. Asterisk, then he closed the door, and I stood there in the rain, blinking at the spot where he had just been. I wasn't used to being seen. Not really. People opened the door, grabbed their food, shut it again. I was part of the transaction, not part of their story, but Liam had looked at me like I was something more than just the guy delivering dinner. Asterisk, I rode away trying to shake it off. It was nothing. Just the guy being polite. But the warmth in my stomach said otherwise. It stayed with me all night, through the rest of my deliveries, through the rain that came back in sheets, even when I clocked out and lay in bed. Helmet hair still damp and heart beating too fast for sleep. Asterisk, the next day, I told myself it was over. A one-time thing. But I kept replaying. His voice, his eyes, the pause in his doorway. There was something about him, something that felt like the beginning of something I shouldn't want. Asterisk, and yet, I did. Liam started ordering every Thursday night. It wasn't immediate. A week passed, then two. I'd almost convinced myself that what I'd felt that night, the weight of his gaze, the way his voice slowed at my name, had been nothing more than loneliness playing tricks. But then, on the third Thursday, there it was. A new order, same house, same margarita. Same note in the delivery app. No garlic, please, and my name. Deliver to Eli only. Asterisk, I stared at the screen longer than I should have. It wasn't protocol. Customers didn't get to choose their delivery guy. But something about the request made sense to me, made the rain feel quieter. The night feel charged again. Asterisk, when I knocked on his door, he opened faster this time. His hoodie was off, a simple t-shirt clinging to his frame like it remembered. His body better than I should have. His hair was tousled, eyes clearer than before. But that same melancholy rested just beneath his smile. Asterisk, Eli, he said, as if tasting the name. Glad it's you again. Asterisk, I think that was the plan, I replied, offering the box. Margarita, new garlic. I'm learning your secrets. Asterisk, he laughed softly, then hesitated. Do you have another delivery after this? Asterisk, I glanced down at my phone. There was one, but it could wait. Asterisk, not for a while. Asterisk, come in for a minute, it's pouring out. Asterisk, I knew I shouldn't. It blurred boundaries. It made things complicated. But the rain behind me was relentless, and the look in his eyes, it wasn't flirtation, it was invitation. To what? I wasn't sure yet. Asterisk inside. His place smelled like sage and something citrusy, the kind of scent that lingered in the walls and clothes, like it was trying to cover up the ghosts that lived there. He motioned toward the couch, and I sat, awkwardly cradling the pizza box, until he took it from my hands and disappeared into the kitchen. Asterisk. He came back with 2 bottles of sparkling water and handed me one without a word. We sat in silence, not tense, just new. The television was off. The only sounds were the hum of the city below and the occasional gust of wind rattling the glass. Asterisk. You ever get tired of people treating you like background noise? He asked suddenly. Asterisk. I turned to him, surprised. You mean like when you're a pizza guy and no one looks you in the eye? Asterisk. He smiled without humor. Exactly that. Asterisk. I hesitated. You don't seem like background noise. Asterisk. He looked away then, studying the dark skyline. Maybe that's the problem. Some people only want noise, not a real person. Asterisk. There was something heavy in his voice. Not anger, not sadness either, just weight. Like he was carrying too many versions of himself and couldn't decide which to put down. Asterisk. He glanced back at me, and for a moment, neither of us looked away. His hand was resting near mine on the cushion, close enough that I could feel the heat of his skin even without contact. Asterisk. I don't usually do this, he said, eyes narrowing slightly, searching mine. Asterisk. Invite pizza guys in, I offered, trying to ease the tension. Asterisk. He didn't laugh. No. Talk to people like this. Asterisk. The silence stretched again. My heart was loud in my chest. I wanted to ask what he meant, what he was hiding, why his voice sounded like a secret every time he said my name, but I couldn't. Instead, I nodded slowly, understanding more than I could explain. Asterisk. Eventually, I stood. I should go. Asterisk. He followed me to the door, slow steps on soft carpet. When I turned to say goodbye, he was watching me with something like regret. Asterisk. Thanks for sitting with me, he said. Most people don't stay. I'm not most people, I said quietly. He smiled then, real sad, beautiful. Asterisk. When the door shut behind me, the cold air hit harder than before. But I didn't feel alone, not quite. Asterisk. What I didn't know was that this, the quiet, the closeness, the careful smiles, was the beginning of a story I wasn't ready for. Asterisk. It didn't take long before Thursdays stopped being the only days I saw Liam. Asterisk. At first, the orders became more frequent, Tuesday, then Saturday, then random evenings with no pattern. But the pizza stopped mattering. He barely touched it. Sometimes, it stayed untouched on the kitchen counter, growing cold while we sat on the couch, talking about nothing and everything. I learned he was a photographer, the kind who captured places that didn't feel real until he showed them to you. His apartment was filled with framed stills of lonely coastlines, fog-soaked hills, and abandoned fairgrounds that whispered their own sad stories. Asterisk. And he learned about me, the night shifts, the dreams I hadn't admitted to anyone, the father I hadn't spoken to in 3 years. He listened the way people rarely do, quiet, focused, as if my words were something valuable. Asterisk. Eventually, I started arriving without pizza. Asterisk. He'd text, sometimes late, sometimes when the sun was still out, asking if I wanted to come by, if I was free, if I was okay. And each time, I went. Even when I wasn't sure what we were doing, even when I knew I was already too far in. Asterisk. The first time we kissed. It wasn't planned. Asterisk. We were lying on the floor, surrounded by half-open photo books and scraps of takeout. The rain had come again, always the rain with us, and it beat against the windows like it wanted in. Liam had just laughed at something I'd said, a real laugh. Bright and boyish and so unlike the quiet weight he usually carried. And then he looked at me. Not like a friend. Not like someone grateful for company. Asterisk. Like someone who had been trying not to want something and had just lost the fight. Asterisk. He leaned in slowly, giving me time to move, time to run, but I didn't. I let him kiss me, soft and unsure, and I kissed him back because everything in my chest had been waiting too. Asterisk. But what came after was not what I expected. Asterisk. He pulled away too fast, as if he'd touched fire. Asterisk. I'm sorry, he said immediately, standing, pacing. I shouldn't have done that. Asterisk. I sat up, confused. Why? Asterisk. It's not that I didn't mean it, he said, voice thick. It's that I meant it too much. Asterisk. I watched him unravel. The way he rubbed the back of his neck, the way he avoided my eyes like they might show him something he wasn't ready to see. Asterisk. You're not telling me something, I said. Asterisk. He froze. Asterisk. I'm not stupid, Liam. You always look like you're running from something. Even when you smile. Asterisk. He finally sat down again, but not too close. There's someone else, he said quietly. Or, ... there was. Asterisk. My stomach twisted. I didn't speak. It's complicated, he added. Does he know about me? Asterisk. He shook his head. It wasn. Single quotes, T ... real anymore. Not for a long time. Asterisk. But not over either. Asterisk. Liam sighed. I tried to leave it. I really did. But we were together for years. He knew every part of me. Good, bad, ugly. And I stayed because it was easier than being alone. Asterisk. I felt cold all over. The walls of his apartment felt narrower suddenly, like the air was folding in on itself. Asterisk. You should have told me. I whispered. Asterisk. I didn't think it would get this far. I didn't think you'd stay. Asterisk. I stood. My chest hurt in that dull, deep way that comes when your heart is bruised. Not broken, not yet. Asterisk. I'm not a secret, Liam. Not a replacement. Not a warm body to keep your nights interesting. Asterisk. He reached for me, but I stepped back. Eli. Asterisk. I need space. I left without another word. That night, I rode my scooter without a destination, rain slicing through my jacket, helmet, fogging with every breath. I didn't cry, not really. But something inside me cracked. The kind of break you don't feel all at once, slow and deep. Like ice shifting under weight. Asterisk. I had wanted to believe we were building something, that the late nights, the quiet smiles, the way his voice softened around my name, all of it meant more. Asterisk. But it turned out, I was just the pizza guy again. Asterisk. And this time, I was the one left standing at the door. 2 weeks passed, no texts, no orders, no messages. Asterisk. I told myself I was over it. Told myself I didn't care, that people like Liam didn't belong in my world, that I'd never expected anything permanent anyway. But the lie was flimsy. It dissolved every time I passed a doorway with golden light pouring out, or when I caught the scent of citrus and sage in someone else's hallway and had to steady myself. Asterisk. I didn't stop delivering pizzas, though I stopped hoping. I became quieter, more withdrawn. My coworkers noticed. You good? They'd ask. I'd nod, fake a smile. Go back to folding boxes. Asterisk. Then, late on a Sunday, the kind of cold night where the city feels brittle, I got an order. Asterisk. Same pizza, same house, same note, no garlic, for Eli only. Asterisk. I stared at the screen, fingers hovering over the decline button. My chest tightened, not with excitement, but dread, confusion. A flicker of anger I hadn't let myself feel until now. Asterisk. Still. I went. Asterisk. When I got there, the house looked the same, but different. No warm light, no music, just silence behind the glass. I rang the bell, heart rattling in my chest. When the door opened, Liam stood there, tired, thinner, like he'd been carrying something heavy for too long. Hey, he said softly. I thought you were done ordering. I was, he said. But I wasn't done with you. I didn't smile, I couldn't. He stepped aside. Can we talk? I walked in, but I didn't sit. I ended it, he said. With him? You should have ended it before you kissed me. I know. He looked smaller now, like the walls had pressed in on him while I was gone. I kept telling myself I wasn't ready to leave. That I couldn't let go of the history. But then you came along and made it impossible to lie to myself anymore. You made me want something honest, something real. I studied him, my silence thick with all the words I had swallowed over the past 14 days. You could have told me the truth, I said. You could have let me choose. He nodded. I was selfish. I thought I could balance both, the comfort of what I knew, and the hope of something new. But people aren't placeholders, and you were never background noise, Eli. You were the only thing I wanted to hear. I wanted to believe him. But betrayal didn't disappear with good intentions, it lingered. It asked questions in the dark. Don't know if I can trust you again, I said. I don't expect you to, he replied. But I'm here, and I'm not going back to who I was. Not if there's any chance of something better with you. There was a silence then, not awkward, just full. Like we were both waiting to see what would fall into place. He moved to the kitchen and came back holding 2 mugs of tea, not wine. Not something seductive, just tea, simple, warm. An offering. He handed me one and sat across from me. No pressure, no reaching. I want to start over, he said, not erase what happened, but build something better from it, if you'll let me. I stared at the tea, then at him. And slowly, I sat down. It wasn't a perfect answer. It wasn't even forgiveness. But it was a step. We talked, not about us, not yet. About films, about photography. About how he was scared of sleeping without music because silence reminded him of things he hadn't made peace with. I told him I used to draw when I was a kid, but stopped when no one noticed. At some point, I leaned back, exhaled. The storm outside had eased into a whisper. Liam looked at me, not with desperation, not with guilt, just hope, quiet, raw, real hope. And I realized something, he didn't need to be perfect. He just needed to be trying. I took another sip of tea, then looked at him fully. You get one chance, I said. Screw it up again, I walk. No text, no goodbye. He nodded slowly. I won't screw it up. I didn't say I believed him, but I stayed. I stayed when I had every reason not to. Because sometimes, love doesn't arrive clean or easy. Sometimes, it shows up at your door late, messy, and holding a second chance.